Hello, everybody. This is your favorite person on the planet, Spot of Nerd. And this one's going to be a heavy one. So I don't know if it's going to be long or short, whatever it might be, but definitely just some stuff I need to get off my chest. And the reason for that is because I guess the way I'm feeling right now, the way the world is, it's like a defeated hope is the best way I can describe it. Half of this world is burning to the ground because of riots. The other half continues to pretend like everything is fine. And there's even those that borderline want to start either World War III, and it boggles my mind every single day. To be clear, it doesn't consume me because I've learned that lesson. But I would genuinely just hope that anybody with an IQ of greater than 2 can honestly start to see the real picture. And I know that is a broken record. That is probably the number one broken record thing that I have said on this channel, on my podcast, YouTube, Rumble, everything in between. But that has got to be the greatest thing, and hope that hopefully right now in this very moment, that there are more people who are awake than ever before. Because if you do not have any bit of hesitation or slight bit of question mark as to the way things are right now in the news, in the world, in your own life, I don't know what it's gonna take to have you, quote, wake up. Let's start. We'll go down some lists here, and as you can imagine, I've said this before as well, broken record. I do have a job to think about. So obviously, I won't express maybe more detailed viewpoints. I will simply go off of the source. And if you know me, you'll know kind of where I stand. But I do think it is, again, it's very important that this information is out there, especially for the fact that your main news sources will not provide it. Because, of course, and this is something I am not afraid to share, but I firmly believe there is an agenda, there is a narrative that they follow, because they need to keep us divided. They need us divided so that they will simply line their pockets with more and more money. And unfortunately, that's going to be at the expense of everybody else. And if you don't believe that, then quite frankly, I don't know what to do, because I'm I'm pretty confident there is a part of your life right now that is terrible, that is also horrible, that is everything in between, that is not good. Financially, maybe health, friendships, support, whatever it might be. I can promise there is something in your life right now that is not in a good place. And is it because of outside sources? Probably. And I genuinely believe that. I take myself, for example. I look at my own health. Is it getting better? Sure. Is it also getting harder to find the right healthcare physically, mentally, that I need? Absolutely. It is excruciatingly more difficult than it was even so much as 3 or 4 years ago. That is why, I mean, again, optimistically, I'm turning things around. I'm starting to wean myself off of medications. I'm starting to physically take care of myself. Because the bottom line is, there will come a point where the most basic human things that we take for granted every single day, it will come to an end. Or I wouldn't, maybe that's a little, okay, that's a little dramatic, even I'll admit that. It won't come to an end, but it's going to get to a point where it is going to be extremely difficult to just find the most basic needs. And I'm talking, again, I'll use myself as the example, pain medications. Um, I mean, even just regular medications. You're talking, I mean, Advil, over the counter medications, headache, Tylenol, toothpaste. I mean, I'll give you the prime example. Today, I literally went into Target, and because I'm British, we have terrible teeth, and I'm not afraid. I genuinely have had the worst teeth of my entire life. Um, so I have to use the Sensodyne toothpaste because otherwise it's kind of torture. Um, I swear on my mother and father's grave, I go into Target to pick up some, and there must have only been, normally you'll have an entire aisle of that stuff, different kinds, varieties, blah, 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 blah. I swear to God, there may have been only 10 boxes when there's normally around easily 1,000. So again, it's those little things that if you are paying attention right now, they are starting to add up. And then you get into the world, and that's where I'm going to kind of lean into. We'll start talking a little bit more about some of the harder stuff. But again, I will be very careful because I just, things are getting a little weird, especially out in the world. But it also is where the hope comes in because I'm going to give you the horrible, but I'll also give you the hope. Some of it is just plain horrible, and I don't know what to think or do, or, well, actually, I mean, obviously, I know what to think. But again, I think really what it comes down to is, can I do anything about it? The hope is to basically leave Washington. And that first thing I want to really kind of talk about is the recent bill that is likely to be passed, if it's not passed already. I think it might actually already be passed, but is the HB 5599 bill. Now, to help you better understand what this is, I have my tablet in front of me for those that are listening. And I want to read it because this will hopefully give you a little bit of a better understanding. So I found a good article that kind of described what it was all about. And this isn't a biased article. It really is just more like, this is what this bill is. And I think if you know me as a friend, as this podcast, YouTube, Rumble, you can pretty much feel or understand where I'm going with it. So in this article, it's the National Catholic Register. It's an article that was done on April 17th of this year by Jonah McKeown, Keown. And it's basically, I'll kind of just go over some of this. It says, it's a bill under consideration in Washington state that would allow licensed youth centers to withhold information from parents about whether a child in their care is undergoing a gender transition, allowing the shelters to instead contact the state. So let's reread that. It is a bill under consideration in Washington state that would allow licensed youth shelters to withhold information from parents about whether a child in their care is undergoing a gender transitioning, allowing the shelters to instead contact the state. The bill is titled Supporting Youth and Young Adults Seeking Protected Healthcare Services. It was introduced by 6 Democrats. It passed the House on Wednesday. It would allow licensed oversight youth centers housing a minor to inform only the state's Department of Children, Youth, and Families, and not a child's parents, if the child is seeking or receiving protected health care services. The bill defines protected services as including evaluation and treatments for gender dysphoria, gender affirming hormone therapy, and gender affirming surgical procedures. This legislation ensures that our trans youth have safe options and access to secure, stable shelter when they may not be welcome at home, said spokes state person Senator Marco Lias, Lias, Democrat in Everett, in a press release on April 13th of this year. The bill now returns to the state Senate, where it must be voted on before going to the desk of, lo and behold, Mr. Inslee himself. The wonderful, wonderful Inslee. Insert sarcasm. It continues on. Under current Washington state law, shelters must inform a minor's parents that they are housing a child unless there are compelling reasons not to do so, such as circumstances that indicate the child may be abused or neglected by such parents. In such case, they still inform the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. So, this is where I have to tread very carefully because, to be clear, and I'm pretty sure I speak on behalf of a lot of people that are very much misinterpreted when it comes to this. We do not care about what you do with your life if you are a law-abiding citizen that is an adult. In this country, my understanding, that is a person who is over the age of 18 years old. If you are 18, do whatever the hell you want. It is your God-given right. But the issue we have, and this bill defines the most important issue of them all, is the fact that you will now, the state, the government, now has the power to take children from their parents based off of the material that I've just spoken about. If that does not scare the living shit out of you, then I don't even know where to begin, other than may God have mercy on your soul. We don't, again, people like myself, different viewpoints, we do not care what you do with your life. We don't care about any of it. We care about you. We care about the individual. We want you to be healthy and happy, living the best life that you possibly can. And I promise that is from the bottom of my heart. That is exactly what I want for you. But stop with the kids. I will never not speak up about that when you involve children. A child is moldable. They are adaptable. They are everything. They are start to finish. You know, when we don't even, you're not allowed to have a tattoo until you're 18. You're not allowed to drive until you're 16. You're not allowed to even drink till you're 21. You can't smoke till you're 18. I mean, I can give you 1,000 examples. you can't even when you're 5 to 10 years old, you're not even allowed to choose your bedtime because your parents do that for you. And now you want to talk about that? I vote no. That's simply, I will leave it at that. 55.99, no. A line has been crossed. And quite frankly, I genuinely, I think the only option right now is to get as far away from it as possible. So the hope in that means if you really do, and I say this sincerely, it might be best to find another place to live. Because I genuinely, there are some things in life I can't get behind. This is definitely one of those things. It's not okay. Plain and simple. It is not okay. We need to let children live their lives. I always say, I've said this in previous episodes. I love and I hate my own parents because, of course, they try to protect you from the evils of the world. And so that's where, like, I appreciate what they've done, the support, the love they've given me to kind of like shield me from all the horribleness that the world. But I also it kind of makes me angry because they didn't prepare me enough for what the world now is. Now, obviously, again, turn optimistically into more of a hope. Obviously, I've changed it. I learn, I read, I research, I get my facts, and then I discuss it, which hopefully is what I'm doing right now to try and get it across to my listeners and viewers, etc., to try to help them understand what this is all about. And this, again, has nothing to do with hate. It has nothing to do with discrimination, but it does have everything to do with protecting children. And if that is something that gets me into trouble, or whatever that might be, whatever it might look like, then so be it. Trust me, I get plenty of hate online, plenty of, you know, death threats through social media. I get plenty of that. It's something you just get used to, all because of a different viewpoint. But I can promise you from the bottom of my heart, this has nothing to do with hate, nothing to do with discrimination, nothing to do with fear of any sort about who you are. I just want you to leave the children out of it. It is that simple. So, that is that. Let's move on to another heavy one. What was I looking into? I guess because I'm looking at the time on this, and what are we at right now? Oh shit, yeah, we're at 20 minutes. I guess we'll talk about one more and then we'll split it up into another. There's a couple target subjects I want to talk about, but um you know what? No, maybe we'll wrap this up because I think that's enough. I think maybe this has definitely been a heavy one. So and we're at 20 minutes, which is kind of where I like to be. So if anything, that just means we have so much more to talk about later. Specifically, just to give you a heads up, and this hopefully will encourage you to subscribe and follow and like everywhere you can. I hope really more on Rumble than anything else, but definitely on YouTube, Instagram. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everywhere you can find podcasts. So seriously, I genuinely, please follow me everywhere you can. I'd love to continue these conversations. Comment, let me know what you think, and because we got a lot more to talk about. And what I mean by that is specifically, you know, The UN has... I'm genuinely in shock about they've now consented to the fact that children may consent with sex with adults. You cannot make this shit up, people. I swear on God's green earth, just go to the United Nations website. Quote, that's not just mine, but that is literally the quote from the United Nations. So we're going to talk about that another time. France continues to burn because, again, the powerful elites apparently didn't make enough money during COVID. You would think BlackRock, look it up, I promise your mind will be blown. Apparently tens of trillions of dollars in profit wasn't enough. They need to take more. So I have mad respect for the French people right now for protesting the way they are. I hope they continue to, because I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want to promote any violence. I definitely will promote the peaceful protesting that is hopefully occurring. I know I'm not saying I'm not saying the burning is a good thing. I'm just saying the facts, that quite frankly, the fact is Paris is burning right now because of said protests. So I'm simply saying I agree to peaceful protests in relation to the situation going on. If you don't know, look it up. It is all about pensions and retirement, and essentially the government wanting to take more from its citizens. That's another one we're going to talk about. Then we also, of course, need to talk about Kansas City and Chicago. To me, they're kind of similar, very different in terms of what the situations are. But again, look up what Kansas City, the situation there. Look up Chicago, the fact that Chicago has turned into World War Z, and it is scary, scary times. Again, to be very clear, I do not want anybody hurt. I do not promote any violence. I don't want any of it. But I think we are definitely coming to a point in society where enough is enough. We cannot continue to be ruled by a small percentage of politicians. Again, I am not telling you to overthrow any governments. I am not telling you to do any violence toward anybody. But I am simply saying these politicians do not give two ass fucks about you. There are so many little shits given towards you, the civilian, in relation to politicians. It would probably blow your mind just to take one of the topics that I've talked about, even just so much in the last 6 months, and just go on a deeper dive. It will blow your mind to just step outside of your box for a minute, the box of Twitter or Snapchat or whatever it might be. Step outside for a second, just go and look a little bit deeper. But you gotta be a little suspicious about something going on right now, whether in your own life or the outside world. And I just pray, I really, really do pray that we genuinely as a human society can start and come together and figure this out. Because we are only going down further and further and further. And yes, this is me, Spot of Nerd, saying, I actually want to go up. I've talked about this, major depression, suicide, everything in between. I actually don't want to do that anymore. I really don't. But the world is not making that easy. It just seems recently there is nothing but defeat. But I know there's not. Because with all of with all of this horribleness going on right now, the fact of the matter is, people are starting to see it. They are opening their eyes for the first time, metaphorically, and they are seeing the real story, the real truth, the real facts. And that is what I hold on to. It is the hope that we all eventually see the real picture And that is when real change begins. I genuinely hope and I pray for it. I really, really do. And I hope you live the best, happiest life that you possibly fucking can. Because you're going to have to work for it in today's world. It's not impossible, but you are going to have to work. And I wish you nothing but love, no matter who you are, what you believe, left, right, up, down, straight, gay, bi, trans, whoever you are. Be the best version of you. And maybe it might just work out. Who knows, right? But with that said, thank you all so much for hearing my TED Talk, my rant. And until next time, no, I don't say it like that. We will see you guys next time. Later, y'all.